you don't really get to meet that many weird people at the same time, because usually everyone, it seems like, is the same, and they're
Right.
cookie cutter, and you got to try to fit in that way, but they celebrate your uniqueness
Yeah.
and your difference, and that's super important.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a correct answer or anything, but like, do you think that's important for anyone going through recovery to find like a weird group of people and how they would go about doing that?
I think I would frame it from the perspective is important that you find it. So that, and this is what ultimately, I mean, I think what we're talking about here is community. And community has been my saving grace since day one. I mean, the reason that I even entertained the idea of staying sober is because I was introduced to this community that made it look attractive. The reason I continue to stay sober to this day is because I'm a part of a community that, like, it's much different than it once was, because I've gotten older in this thing, I've gotten wiser in this thing, but I'm still very much in that community. So for anybody who's entering recovery, I think it is fundamental that they find a community where they can inevitably be vulnerable, they can be authentic, they can be themselves without like harsh criticism and judgment. And that's what I found in that program MRP. That's what I found in 12-step rooms. And then inevitably that's what I found at the Al magazine, dude, hanging out with all you guys.
Was that something that you started getting excited towards? It was like journalism and photography and all that kind of stuff. Like, did that start to become some sort of vice for you, or what?
Yeah, as far as healthy outlet, healthy form of expression. And that is, I think, in a lot of ways, like music was for a minute, but then when I got sober, like I needed to find something. I needed to find something where I think it came down to an identity thing. Like, Neil, who are you? And what happened is through the recovery community, I started like putting myself around other sober people who, the kind of approach that is, as far as, the spiritual component, as far as the work that for me personally in my recovery, what I deem my recovery, like what I found. But then when I started going back to school. I was probably, I was like probably 3-4 years sober when I first met you. So I had been doing some work. I'd been like really dedicated to like, okay, let's practice some radical acceptance day at a time. For me personally, like, find my meetings, channel like my mentorship, like do the thing, stay in the middle of the pack. I had been working a lot of restaurant jobs. I was like, okay, I'm not trying to be a line cook at Applebee's forever. And said, there's Hartford Community College right down the road. I was once upon a time like a good student when I showed up. So now I'm actually motivated enough to show up. I think I was probably 23. And I started showing up, and I used to write all the time in treatment. That became like a healthy outlet for me, journaling, expression, like all. So like I started trying to channel, like, how can I like turn this expression into something more than me just kind of like putting my thoughts on a piece of paper. And I found like profound.
So you were trying to find some like sort of purpose, some sort of thing to
purpose.
feel important for.